There is one rule in the suburbs that everyone should know. Never mess with a quiet guy. You know the one I'm talking about. The guy who keeps to himself. The guy who mows his lawn at exactly 9 a.m. on Saturdays. The guy whose house is always secure, whose trash is always out on time, and who never, ever complains. Usually that guy is quiet because he just wants peace. But sometimes, like in my case, he is quiet because he spent 20 years working in places where making a noise could get you killed. My name is Alex Mercer. To my neighbors, I'm just a retired mechanic who likes to restore old trucks. To the United States government, I am a specialized independent contractor handling secure data uplinks for the Department of Defense. I moved to Oakwood Estates for the silence. I wanted a big garage, a backyard for my dog, and a place where I could do my work without anyone bothering me. For 3 years, it was perfect. And then Brenda became the HOA President. Brenda didn't care about the law. She didn't care about property rights. She only cared about power. She thought she could bully me because my house didn't look exactly like hers. She thought my specialized radio equipment was ugly. She made the mistake of thinking her HOA rulebook was more powerful than federal law. Last week, she trespassed on my land and ordered a crew to cut the cables to a $180,000 piece of military hardware. She thought she was teaching me a lesson. She had no idea that she had just triggered a silent alarm at the FBI field office 40 miles away. And she definitely didn't know that the black SUVs coming down the street weren't coming for tea. Here's a story of how one woman's ego cost her everything, and how I destroyed a corrupt HOA without throwing a single punch. I want you to understand something about my life before this happened. It was boring, and I loved it. After 2 decades in special operations, boring is a luxury. I didn't want excitement. I didn't want drama. I spent my days working on a 1978 Ford Bronco in my garage, and my nights monitoring the server racks in my home office. My setup isn't normal. Because of my contract with the government, my property has a few modifications. First, there is a security system. It looks standard from the street, but the cameras are military-grade 4K with night vision and audio pickup. The locks on my workshop are biometric. They scan my fingerprint. And then there's the antenna. It's mounted on the side of my workshop. It's not a normal TV dish. It is a large, complex array of steel and wire, about 8 feet tall. It looks industrial. It hums quietly when it's processing data. It's a secure hardline node, used to bounce encrypted signals for the military. It's not pretty. I admit that. It looks like a piece of a spaceship crashed into my backyard. But it is vital for my work. And more importantly, it is protected by a stack of federal permits that is 3 inches thick. When I bought the house, I made sure my property was exempt from certain HOA rules because of this equipment. I had the paperwork signed, sealed, and filed. For years, nobody cared. The old HOA president, a nice guy named Bob, just waved at me. He knew I was some kind of government guy, and he left me alone. But Bob retired, and Brenda took over. Brenda was the kind of woman who measured people's grass with a ruler. She walked around the neighborhood with a clipboard, looking for things to be angry about. She had a haircut that looked like a helmet and a voice that could cut glass. She started small. She fined the Johnson family for having a basketball hoop. She fined the old lady down the street for planting the wrong color roses. I stayed out of it. I thought, if I stay in my lane, she will stay in hers. I was wrong. Bullies don't have lanes. They want the whole road. It was a Tuesday morning. The sun was shining. I was under my truck, changing the oil, enjoying the peace and quiet. Then I heard it. Click, click, click. The sound of high heels on my concrete driveway. I didn't move at first. I hoped she would go away. But then I saw her shoes. Expensive shoes, standing right next to a puddle of motor oil. "Mr. Mercer," she shouted. Her voice was shrill. "I know you are under there." I sighed. I wiped my hands on a rag and slid out from under the truck. I sat up. "Good morning, Brenda," I said. "Can I help you?" She didn't say good morning. She just pointed a long, manicured finger at my workshop. "That," she said, shaking her finger, "that metal monstrosity. It has to go. I looked at my antenna. My communication array? Brenda. That's been there for 3 years. I don't care, she snapped. I am the president now, and I have read the bylaws. Section 4. Paragraph B clearly states that no external structures exceeding 6 feet shall be visible from the street. That thing is hideous. It looks like a junk pile. It is lowering the property value of every home on this block. I stood up. I towered over her, but I kept my voice soft. Brenda, we have discussed this. That equipment is for my job. It is not subject to the HOA rules. I have a federal exemption. It's in the file. She laughed. It was a cold, mocking sound. Oh, yes, the secret agent file. Listen to me, Alex. I don't care if you think you are James Bond. You are a retired mechanic living in a suburb. You are not special. That machine is an eyesore. I want it taken down by tomorrow. I looked her in the eyes. I can't do that, Brenda. It's hardwired. And frankly, it's illegal for anyone to tamper with it. She stepped closer, invading my personal space. Let me make this simple for you. You have 24 hours to remove it. If you don't, the HOA will hire a contractor to remove it for you, and we will bill you for the cost, plus a fine for every day it was up. I felt a little spark of anger in my chest, but I pushed it down. Getting angry doesn't help. Getting prepared helps. Brenda, I said slowly, I am going to give you a friendly warning. That is government property. If you touch it, you are committing a felony. I'm not talking about a fine. I'm talking about prison. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they would fall out of her head. You are ridiculous, she said. 24 hours, Alex. Tick-tock. She turned around and marched away, scribbling furiously on her clipboard. I watched her go. I took a sip of my coffee. She thought she had terrified me. She thought I was going to panic and take it down. Instead, I walked into my office. I sat down at my computer. I opened the security logs. I made sure every camera angle covered the antenna. I checked the backup battery system. Then I picked up my secure phone and called my handler at the Department of Defense. Control, this is Mercer. I said, I have a potential situation developing at Site 4. Local interference. I might need a legal verify. Copy that, Mercer. The voice on the other end said, Is the hardware at risk? Not yet, I said, watching Brenda walk down the street on my monitor. But I think she's dumb enough to try. The next day, Wednesday, I had to go into the city. I had a mandatory briefing at the regional office. I knew I would be gone for about 5 hours. I knew this was when she would strike. Bullies are cowards. They never attack when you are looking. They wait until you leave. I checked my cameras one last time before I pulled out of the driveway. The street was empty. Okay, Brenda, I whispered. Don't do it. Don't be stupid. I drove to the city. I sat through my meeting, but I kept my phone on the table, face up. At 11:42 a.m., it buzzed. Alert. Motion detected rear perimeter. Alert. Vibration detected workshop wall. I stopped talking mid-sentence. I picked up the phone. I opened the app. The video feed loaded in crystal clear 4K resolution. There was a truck parked on my lawn. Not in the driveway, on the grass. It was a landscaping company. Greenleaf gardeners. 3 men were standing around my antenna. They looked confused. They were holding tools, but they weren't doing anything yet. And there was Brenda. She was standing in the middle of my flower bed, shouting at them. I couldn't hear the audio clearly yet, so I tapped the Enhance Audio button on my app. I don't pay you to ask questions. Brenda's voice came through my phone speaker loud and clear. I pay you to work. Cut it down. One of the workers, a young guy, looked nervous. He pointed at the thick black cables running into the ground. Lady, this looks serious, the worker said. This isn't normal cable TV wire. This is heavy-duty stuff. It's bolted into the concrete. We need a permit for this. I am the permit. Brenda screamed. I am the president of the HOA. This is common area jurisdiction. Cut it down right now, or I will sue your company for breach of contract. The worker looked at his boss. The boss shrugged. He didn't want to lose the job. All right, the boss said, get the bolt cutters. I watched, freezing in horror, as the worker climbed the ladder. He brought the heavy metal cutters up to the main coaxial feed, the lifeline of the system. Sir, the general in my meeting asked me, is everything all right? I stared at the screen. Snap. The worker cut the main line. Sparks flew. The video feed glitched for a second as the system switched to emergency backup power. Then they started ripping. They unbolted the steel frame. They tore the sensors off the wall. They threw the delicate $40,000 receiver unit onto the concrete driveway like it was garbage. Crash. My phone screen flashed red. System critical. Connection lost. I stood up. The room was silent. Every agent and officer in the briefing room was looking at me. Major Mercer? The general asked. I looked up. My face was calm, but my eyes were cold. General, I said, I have to leave. Immediately. Why? What happened? Sabotage, I said. A civilian just destroyed a classified, uplifting note at my residence. The signal is dead. The general stood up. Sabotage? Was it foreign intelligence? A spy? No, I said, picking up my keys. It was the homeowners association. The general looked confused for a second. Then his face went hard. He looked at the agent next to him. Agent Henderson. The general barked. Get a team. Get the marshals. Meet Major Mercer at his residence. Secure the hardware and detain the perpetrators. Yes, sir. Agent Henderson said, grabbing his radio. I walked out of the room. I walked to my truck. I didn't drive fast. I didn't speed. There was no rush anymore. The damage was done. The crime was recorded. Brenda had just dug her own grave. Now, I was going to push her into it. When I pulled into my driveway 40 minutes later, the landscaping truck was gone. My driveway looked like a war zone. Bits of wire, plastic shards, and metal bolts were scattered everywhere. And there, piled up against my garage door, was my antenna. It was twisted, broken, ruined, and sitting on my porch swing, drinking a glass of iced tea, was Brenda. She had waited for me. She wanted to see my face. She wanted to see me cry. She wanted to gloat. I got out of the truck. I walked up the driveway slowly. My boots crunched on the broken glass of a sensor lens. Well, Brenda called out. She sounded happy. Look at that. It looks so much more open now. You should thank me, Alex. I stopped at the bottom of the porch stairs. I looked at the pile of scrap metal. That pile used to be worth $180,000. Now it was worth nothing. Brenda, I said. My voice was very low. Did you do this? The HOA did this, she corrected me, smiling. We abetted the nuisance. Oh, and here. She reached into her purse and pulled out a piece of paper. She tried to hand it to me. This is the bill, she said. $300 for the labor and a $200 fine for the violation. You can mail the check to the treasurer. I didn't take the paper. I just looked at her. You cut the hard line. I said, Brenda, I told you. That was a federal link. Oh, stop it. She waved her hand. It's a ham radio. My husband had one in the 90s. Stop pretending you are important. You lost. I won. Follow the rules next time. You need to leave, I said. Right now. Go to your house. Excuse me, she bristled. I can stand wherever I want. This is a community. I'm trying to help you, Brenda, I said. Police are coming. Federal agents are coming. You do not want to be standing on my porch when they get here. She laughed. I'm calling the police, she screamed. She pulled out her phone. You are threatening a woman. I am the victim. I am calling the sheriff. Go ahead, I said. Tell them to hurry. She dialed 911. She started screaming fake tears into the phone. He's going to hit me. He's crazy. Send help. I just leaned against my truck and folded my arms. I waited. The local sheriff's deputy arrived first. It was a young guy, Deputy Miller. He looked tired. Brenda ran down the driveway to meet him. Officer, arrest him, she shrieked, pointing at me. He threatened me. He put up illegal trash in his yard, and now he won't pay the fine. Deputy Miller walked up. He saw the pile of twisted metal. He looked at me. Major Mercer. He nodded. He knew me. We went to the same gym. Deputy, I said, what's the problem here? Miller asked, he is the problem. Brenda yelled. I had this ugly antenna removed, as is my right as president, and now he is acting psycho. Miller looked at the metal. You removed it? You mean you came onto his property and cut it down? Yes, Brenda said proudly. We have an easement. Deputy, I interrupted. Before you take her statement, I need you to look at something. I walked over to the broken receiver unit. I flipped it over. On the bottom, there was a silver metal plate riveted to the casing. Read this, I said. Deputy Miller leaned in. He squinted at the text. Property of U.S. Gov, Department of Defense. Critical infrastructure. Do not tamper. Federal felony 18 U.S.C. Miller stopped reading. He stood up straight. His face went pale. He looked at Brenda. Ma'am, Miller said. His voice was different now. Serious. Did you order this to be cut? It's just a sticker. Brenda shouted. He bought it on Amazon to scare people. It's fake. It's not fake, I said calmly. And if you listen, Deputy, you can hear the cavalry coming. We all fell silent. In the distance, we heard engines. Big engines. 2 black Chevy Tahoes turned the corner. They were moving fast. They didn't have sirens on, but they had flashing lights in the grill. Blue and red. They screeched to a halt in front of my house, blocking Brenda's car. 4 men in suits stepped out. They were wearing body armor vests over their shirts. On the back of the vest, in big yellow letters, it said, FBI. Brenda stopped screaming. Her mouth fell open. She dropped her clipboard. Agent Henderson walked up the driveway. He didn't look at Brenda. He walked straight to me. Major, Henderson said. Secure perimeter established. Thanks, Henderson. I said, that's the perpetrator. I pointed at Brenda. Henderson turned to Brenda. He was a big man, 6'4", with no sense of humor. He looked down at her. Ma'am, he said, are you the individual who authorized the destruction of this node? I, Brenda stammered. It's an HOA matter. We have bylaws. Bylaws? Henderson asked. He looked confused. Ma'am, you just destroyed a classified military asset. You committed sabotage against the United States government. I don't care about your grass height. He looked at Deputy Miller. Deputy, place this woman in custody. We are taking jurisdiction. Federal charges. Custody? Brenda shrieked. You can't arrest me. I have a Pilates class at 4. I am the president. Not anymore, I said. Deputy Miller spun Brenda around. Click, click. The sound of handcuffs is very different from the sound of high heels. It is a much more satisfying sound. You are making a mistake. Brenda screamed as they shoved her into the back of the sheriff's car. My husband is a lawyer. I will sue you all. Henderson watched the car door slam shut. He shook his head. They always scream, he said to me. So, Major, how much was this unit worth? With installation and calibration? I asked. About 200 grand. Henderson whistled. She's going to need a better lawyer than her husband. You might think that seeing her arrested was the best part, but it wasn't. The best part was the meeting 2 weeks later. Brenda was out on bail, but she was under house arrest. She couldn't attend the HOA meeting. The community center was packed. Everyone had heard the rumors. The FBI was at Mercer's house. Brenda is in jail. The vice president, a nervous guy named Jerry, stood at the front of the room. He looked like he wanted to throw up. Okay, everyone, Jerry said into the microphone. We have a situation. He held up a legal document. It was thick. We have been served with a lawsuit, Jerry said, from the Department of Justice, and a civil suit from Mr. Mercer. The room went silent. Because Brenda acted in her capacity as president, Jerry explained, sweating. The HOA is liable for the damages. The government is suing us for the replacement cost of the equipment, plus punitive damages, plus legal fees. How much? Someone shouted from the back. Jerry swallowed hard. $1.2 million. The room exploded. People were screaming. $1 million? We can't pay that. Our dues will go up to $5,000 a month. This is Brenda's fault. I stood up from the back row. I held up my hand. The room went quiet instantly. They were all looking at me. The scary government guy. Neighbors, I said, I don't want to bankrupt this community. I live here too. Then drop the lawsuit, someone begged. I will, I said, on 3 conditions. Jerry nodded fast. Anything. Name it. Number 1, I said, the HOA is dissolved. Immediately. No more board. No more fines. We go back to city rules. We are free. A cheer went up in the room. People were clapping. They hated the HOA as much as I did. Number 2, I said, Brenda is personally responsible for the $180,000 equipment cost. The HOA will place a lien on her house to pay me back. If she can't pay, you foreclose on her home. Done, Jerry said. She did the crime. She pays a dime. And number 3, I said, I am installing a new antenna. It's going to be taller. It's going to be stronger. And nobody is ever going to complain about it again. Agreed, the room shouted. It took 6 months of the dust to settle. Brenda took a plea deal to avoid 10 years in federal prison. She pleaded guilty to destruction of government property. She served 18 months in a minimum security facility. She lost her house. The lien wiped her out. The last I heard, she was renting a small apartment in another state. I hope she likes the noise there. As for the neighborhood, it's perfect. The HOA is gone. People leave their trash cans out sometimes. Some people have basketball hoops. The grass is a little longer. It feels like a real neighborhood, not a prison camp. And my backyard, the Department of Defense came out last week. They installed the new Model 9 uplink tower. It is 30 feet tall. It has a blinking red light on top for aviation safety. It hums loudly. To most people, it's the ugliest thing in the world. But last night, I sat on my porch, drinking a cold beer, watching that red light blink against the night sky. Blink, blink, blink. To me, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. This is Major Alex Mercer, signing off. Don't touch my stuff.